Having a great day. I'm so happy to be back in filming, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review slash demo using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. This palette is the sister palette to the Modern Renaissance palette. They both have the same type of velvety packaging and they both have the same amount of shades. Now the only difference between the two palettes that I can personally see are just the color schemes. I feel like the Modern Renaissance palette is just way more warm and way more wearable, and I think way more easy to wear than the Subculture palette, which is a little bit more cool tone and a little bit more daring. I feel like some people love this palette a lot more because it's just a comfortable palette, and this palette I feel like they don't like as much and aren't gravitated towards it as much because it's just a little bit more daring, and there are some colors in here that not a lot of people will wear traditionally. So I think that's a lot of people's problems when it comes to these two palettes and people being more receptive to this one than this one. Personally, I like them both. I don't reach for my Modern Renaissance palette as much as other people do per se, but I will reach for it when I want something warm and kind of like more fall-y, something like that. But as far as this palette is gorgeous. The only problem I have are the three mattes that I use. Well, the two mattes out of the three that I use for this eyeshadow look have a lot of kick up. Now, that can be a problem to some, and that can be just kind of like whatever to some other people. To me personally, I don't really care about it. I don't really mind. I feel like there are other eyeshadows and other palettes out there that have the same issue, but not a lot of people make the big deal about it. But this one, Roxy and Rowdy both had a lot of kick up. Isn't a problem to me. You get more pigmentation, but you will have to tap off the excess with your brushes, and some people might feel like they're wasting product by doing so. It all depends, you guys, but I will say that I use Cube, and it is so stunning. It is a dual comb color, so it's more of like it looks white, but it comes off more pinkish purplish on the eye, and you can't really see it because my lighting is very intense, but it is a really pretty shimmery kind of pinkish color. But other than that, I'm really excited to do more looks using this palette. I hope you guys stay tuned for the rest of the week, for the rest of the videos during the rest of the week. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this demo and review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be doing a review slash demo on the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. Now this palette is supposed to be the sister palette of the Modern Renaissance palette. That palette was a very warm and kind of like a reddish orange, kind of like just a warm palette. Now the Subculture palette is completely the opposite. It has this kind of, it's the velvet, the same velvet of the Modern Renaissance, but it has this yellow writing, and it also has this, like, it's kind of like a teal blue green kind of velvet packaging. I love this packaging. The only thing I can say is that it scuffs up really easily, just like with anything velvet that you would own. So when you open the palette, you see this beautiful array of colors, and I've seen so many different reviews and complaints and just dislikes on this palette, and I was the complete opposite. When I first saw this palette, I was initially drawn to it because you don't see eyeshadow palettes with these colors. You see a lot of those warmer colors because people gravitate towards them, and people don't really gravitate towards cool tone palettes. So my thinking and my whole idea on it is I'm going to do similar like I did for the Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm going to do a subculture palette series, so to speak. I did get started late because I went on vacation this weekend and I have a niece and every other excuse there is in the book. So there will only probably be 4 videos. If I do film a 5th one, it will be on Saturday. It will be a Saturday upload. So back to the palette. The palette, you have some warm shades and also some cooler shades. The warm shades I would say are Fudge, Roxy, Dawn, and Adorn. And maybe even All-Star. All-Star is like this like berry kind of color. And then everything else is a little bit more cool. You've got Electric, which is like a greenish color. It's really pretty. Destiny, which is like a pukey green. Untamed, which is like an emerald green. Mercury, which is just, it honestly, it doesn't really catch my eye just because it won't look good on my skin tone, but it's just a kind of like a tan color. It's exactly the same color of my walls in my house. Edge, which is just a mustard color. Well, it's more of a yellow, and New Wave is more of a mustard, and then you got Rowdy, which is a matte, dark burgundy color, and then Axis, which is similar to the color of the packaging, but it's a little bit more of a deep forest green. So when you see this palette, you get a ton of mattes. You get 1, 2, 3 shimmers out of this entire palette, and then the rest are mattes. And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 shadows in this palette. So out of the 14, 3 of them are shimmers and the rest are mattes. So if you are a matte eyeshadow lover like I am, this is going to be a great palette for you. In contrast to the Self-Made palette, was it the Self-Made palette? Yes. In contrast to the Self-Made palette, I felt like that palette had way too many shimmers and not enough mattes. This palette, however, has way more shimmers and way less mattes. But the good thing about having more mattes in a palette, if you have a straight shimmer palette, like something like the Too Faced Glitter palette or the Urban Decay Moon Dust palette, you can use this palette and that palette with each other. So I don't see why people don't like this palette. Like, I just don't understand it, because it just, when I first saw it, I was like, yes! There are so many different looks that are going on in my head right now on what I can do with this palette that I just don't get it. I just don't get it, you know? So when I first looked at this palette, I was initially drawn to Electric, which you can't really see because of my lighting, but it's this really pretty, kind of like a yellowish green color. Let's see. There you go. You can kind of see it's kind of like a yellowish greenish color. I was really drawn to that one, and then Adorn, which is the other shimmer, which I kind of crossed them, which is more of a bronzy shade. Those two shades I was initially drawn to. And then the shade Rowdy, which is a dark purple. I love dark purples. I feel like I never see dark purples in a palette. So when I saw that, I was like, yes! And then All Star, of course. And Fudge is one of my favorite shadows out of the Shadow Couture palette. It's one of the best warm browns. It's just so beautiful. So when I first saw this palette, I just thought of multiple different ways that I could do looks. So I know I've had questions from you guys, and I know this will make this video a lot longer, but I'm sorry. But I know I've had you guys ask, like, how to come up with an eyeshadow look when you get a new palette. So my first thinking was that I could use Roxy, Fudge, and Adorn and create just a natural, neutral, kind of bronzy, smoky eye. And then if I wanted to do something like I'm going to do today, I'm going to use Cube, All Star, Roxy, or Rowdy and Roxy together to create more like a burgundy, berry kind of smoky eye. And then later on in the week, I'm going to use Untamed, which is this greenish color, along with Adorn and New Wave. So you just have to look at the palette and see the shimmers that you have and see the colors that you have, and kind of take from there what you want to, like, how you want to create your eye look, so to speak. There's never a right or wrong. I just want to let you guys know that, and how you create your eye looks or how you create your eye looks, it's just up to you initially. So as mentioned, I am going to take the shade Roxy, which is right here in the corner. It is a warm transition shade. It is like a kind of like a orangey kind of color. I'm going to take a Sigma E40 blending brush. This is a big fluffy blending brush, and oh wow, okay, so there is a ton of kick up with this palette. So as you can see, it's all over my Cube and Dawn up there, and it's very, very, very pigmented on my brush. So I'm going to go ahead and tap off all that excess, because you don't really need all of that. And then just take that up into my upper crease. So these mattes are extremely, extremely powdery. And I don't experience that a lot with Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows. Their eyeshadows are typically pressed very well, to the point where they go on very smooth. So it is blending out very well, despite it being chalky. So I'm just using that as a transition shade, so I don't want too much of that shade anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and just blow away all the excess powder. And then I'm going to take the shade All Star right here. It's this berry kind of color, and this color was one of the colors that really drew my eye to this palette. And I'm going to take a Morphe blending brush. I'm not sure of the number of this brush, unfortunately. I got it out of a brush set by Morphe and they didn't come with numbers. So this one, this one didn't have a lot of kick up or a lot of powdery residue, I guess you could say. So I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to take that out into the outer corner and then just start working this into the crease. And this shade is very, 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 very pretty and very pigmented. And I'm just blending this into the crease, and then I'm also working that up into where I blended Roxy in. And I'm just going to build this color up until I get the most pigmentation and how deep and dark I want it to be. Now you can leave this color just alone if you don't want to add a little bit more definition and a little bit more shadow to it. You don't have to. You can just leave it just like this. But I am going to blend this up fairly high because I really want the shade to peek through. So as always, when I'm doing an eyeshadow look, I always go in with the previous brush and just use that to buff out the edges, just to make sure they're not very harsh. So now I'm going to take a Coastal Scents blending brush. It's very similar to the E25 by Sigma, and I'm going to take the shade Rowdy, which is right here in the corner. And this one does have a lot of kick up, so this one you're going to want to tap off the excess. Very, very, very pigmented purple, as you can see on my brush. My brush was clean when I started, and as you can see, there's just a little bit of a powder residue on the Rowdy eyeshadow. Not a big deal to me. I don't see why people freak out about there being it being very chalky or very powdery, besides the fact that you can hit pan a lot faster than you would if it didn't have a lot of kick up. But there are a ton of eyeshadows out there that have the same problem and no one bats an eye at. So I think people are just freaking out because it is Anastasia Beverly Hills and people hold a high standard of her products, but still, like, it's just not that big of a deal. I don't see a big deal. So I'm just using this to really deepen and darken this look. This is really going to take it over the edge and make it a lot more smoky. Keeping this very, very, very tight as well on my eye. And then we're going to start to blend that upwards. I'm going to wipe my brush a little bit because I don't want a lot of product on it. As you can see, I've wiped it just so I can start buffing and blending it upwards. So now there's a pretty harsh line, so I'm going to take some more All Star and apply that right over the top. So now I want to cut my crease because I want to make it more of a half cut crease. Also with these colors, you can start looking like you have a black eye, so just beware of that. But still, I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer because that's what I use to prime my lids. And I'm going to use this to start to cut my crease. I'm going to do a half cut crease for this eye look. So now that I have that, just a little tiny bit of Rowdy just to blend the edges. And then I am going to take this very, very, very beautiful shade in the corner now. This is Cube, and Cube is a white iridescent color. It looks white, but when you swatch it on the hand, it comes off as like a pinkish kind of color. So we're gonna see how this turned up on my eye because I'm brown, and you know, not everything is brown girl friendly. Oh, that's pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay, so it's showing up kind of more of that, like, kind of like the color of my backdrop, actually. Like more of, like a cranberry-ish kind of pinkish color. And with Cube, you can also wet your brush with a little bit of Fix Plus or Inglot Duraline, and that would really make this intense and pop. So I really wish you guys could, my camera is not picking up this color at all. It's still picking up like a whitish color, but in person it's more of like a pinkish color. It's really, really, really pretty. So I am going to do my face, and I'm just going to do wing liner, you guys. You guys have seen wing liner a million times. And then I'm going to put on my lashes, and I will be back for the lips and to give my final thoughts on this palette after I am done. I'll see you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I am back. I'm just going to go ahead and do my lips. What I did off camera was just use the two shades that I used in my crease, so All Star and Rowdy, and I just put those two on the lower lash line. And then I grabbed the sister palette, Modern Renaissance, and I took the shade Vermeer out of this palette and just popped that into the inner corner. So nothing too special, nothing too spectacular. Excuse me, too spectacular on the lower lash line, but I wanted the lower lash line to be just as smoky as the top, just to kind of change it up and do something a little different. And I also did put on lashes. I used the Allure Cosmetics lashes in Vegas Nay. They're Bronze Beauty, so they look like this. And they're very, 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 very natural. They're not as full and fluffy as I usually like them, but I decided to try something different today. So for my lips, I'm just going to line them, and I'm using this Clean Color lip liner in the shade Brown. I get this from my local beauty supply store. So it's nothing special, nothing spectacular. It's like $1 from my beauty supply store. I'm just going to line my lips because I'm going to go in with a lighter pink lip gloss. And I want my lips to have some type of definition. So for the actual lip gloss, I'm going to go in with this NYX Intense Butter Gloss. This is in the shade Tres Leches, or Tres Leches. And it's just a pink lip gloss. very, 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 very pigmented. So I just put one swipe because I don't want my lips to look too pink. So one swipe is enough with this gloss. So you guys, that pretty much wraps up my video. I hope you all enjoyed this review / demo on the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. I keep wanting to say Shadow Couture palette, but that one is like 2 years old. So the Subculture palette, if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe before you go. And also stay tuned for the other videos using this palette. I'm so excited to do other looks using this palette. There's so many looks that I have in mind, but just I feel like not enough time, you know what I mean? So anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. I love you all. Bye.